rural areas have changed significantly. When we were young, you went to the grocery store, you went to the general store, and that's where your mail was. They actually had the post office there in the general store. And so you saw one another sometimes daily, and that's gone. It's gone. And so we talked a little bit there, what can we do to reintroduce some of that?
Welcome back to the Rural Renewal Podcast. We are grateful that you keep on coming back and listening to us as we explore what it means to do ministry in a rural setting. And Chris, you want to talk about this week and how that affects ministry?
Yeah, sure. I had a week like I'm sure most of you have. Well, mine is a different kind of week probably than most of you have had, but also in some ways very similar to the kind of week. So Monday was a relatively, you're our pastors. So Monday was a normal Monday, which means it was kind of trying to get stuff done while also. So, I should maybe back up a little bit. Generally, the pattern to our week is we work Monday, Tuesday. We generally take Tuesday off as we try to pretty much protect Tuesday. Although you're going to find out that for me didn't happen this week, but anyway. And then we usually try also to take some other time off during the week, but Tuesday is kind of the day we really try to set aside. So Monday is mostly like trying to get stuff wrapped up or done after Sunday so it's always a little. And although Monday was, so Monday morning we were supposed to bring our son to an orthodontist appointment and also drop off a car. And Kathleen has a meeting on Monday mornings that she has every week. So we had this plan. We had worked it out. I was going to drive back and forth to where the orthodontist was several times while Kathleen was able to be not at home and go on this because we had to drop off. We had to drive both cars to our mechanics because we needed to drop one off so that it could get new snow tires. Although we should probably have gotten those earlier since we now have lots of snow. But anyway, anywho, so we did that Monday. Monday was relatively normal for Monday, except for that the orthodontist appointment got canceled and we did drop the car off, but everything kind of changed. And then Tuesday morning, it was supposed to snow. We live in southern Vermont. It was our first real snowstorm of the year. We have had some snow, but this was supposed to get, we ended up getting about 8 inches of snow. So it's about what we thought we were going to get. And at 4:15-ish in the morning, I've talked about I'm on the fire department before. This does not happen often, but I get my pager goes off, and it's the report of a structure fire in the town north of us. It was a restaurant that had closed down about several months ago in town, and then the building was well along in fire. So that pretty much meant most of my day on Tuesday was spent there.
And our kids had a snow day, so I was home with our kids.
Yep. So I guess I was home about noon, but it had been a long day already. So I kind of took a nap somewhat that afternoon. I don't remember doing much else. I was kind of out of commission for the rest of the day.
You really didn't.
That was pretty much all, which was fine. It was supposed to be a day off, but it ended up being a hectic day and kind of a strange day for you, I think. Not that it was overly stressful, but that I was not around and then the kids were home, which is good, but different for Tuesday. And then yesterday, I was like, okay, well, that was a weird Tuesday, but we'll get back to a Wednesday. And yesterday, again, on the fire department, there was, as during the snowstorm, a tractor trailer on our state highway that runs through our town had tipped over, and they were righting the tractor trailer yesterday because they didn't do it while it was snowing. They waited till the day after because it was off the road. So they had to shut the highway down for what I thought was going to be an hour or two. But I did traffic for 7 hours yesterday.
Oh man,
which was a long time.
Long day.
And I went and kind of there was other people doing traffic in other places, but where I was on my own, which is a little unusual. But It was an interesting experience though, because I spent a lot of time. I talked to a lot of people, gave directions to many people as they tried to figure out how to get from our town to where they needed to go. The locals knew where they were going, but lots of other people who passed through our town had obviously no idea how to get around. So I spent a lot of time talking to people, but I also got a chance to talk to a lot of local people in our town, and it kind of reminded me, ministry for me at least. It is often kind of like the last couple of days have been for us, which is that it it is. We have and had plans to some extent of what those days were going to look like. I had a vision in my mind, and it wasn't that at all. And yet like ministry still happens. Like I wasn't not the pastor because I happened to be directing traffic yesterday. I tried to like keep that in my mind as I was doing so. Again, not that I was like, here's how you get down the mountain and Jesus loves you to every person I was talking to. That might have been a good idea, but that's not that's not what I did. but I was trying to, and I was trying, I had an opportunity to kind of be reminded a little bit of like the kind of place we live. Several people during my time, several that I know well, and then a couple people that I really don't know that well in town, like would pull to the side of the road while I was telling, and they'd say, "Oh, do you need a cup of coffee or something?" And a couple times I said yes. A couple times I said, I'm going to be way over. I love to drink coffee, but I was going to be way over caffeinated. So I was like, and then somebody, a couple other people asked if I needed food. I was like, no, I'm okay. And then somebody just brought food. Then somebody else just brought food. Actually today I happened to have to run to the hardware store real quick. And I was talking to somebody at the hardware store about it. They were asking if my toes had thawed out yet, and this is just sort of, yesterday I had some space in between times when I was talking to somebody about how to get somewhere, being reminded of like, this is really in many ways like what ministry is. I think this is like Paul, not that I am like Paul, but in some ways, right? Like Paul is constantly has a plan. I think of this often, Paul has this plan to get to Rome, and everything in the world seems to conspire against it. Now, he does get to Rome eventually, but not at all in the way he plans, and not at all and yet Paul doesn't ever see that as like some tragedy that he's doing this under Roman guard, and that he's, that he doesn't have. No, he just says, "Okay, God, this is where you've got me. So right now, my work for the kingdom doesn't matter. My circumstances matter very little, really." And I try to. Yesterday was a good reminder of that, at least for me. And I think rural ministry can be like that often. It's not bad to have a plan, but the plan is. When the plan is inevitably upended, and you don't have to be in rural ministry for this, but when the plan is inevitably upended, you are going to you don't have to see that as meaning, oh, now the ministry I was hoping to get done is not getting done. So,
yeah, it's been a week.
It has been an interesting week, and it's always an interesting week. So
no, it just feels like. Some weeks you have well planned, and then some weeks everything changes like several times during the day. Like the orthodontist appointment was supposed to be Monday morning. Now it's Friday afternoon, so that we've had a lot of negotiating, but I think that's just kind of life. And I think years ago we were talking to some nuns who were on retreat. There's a priory near our house, and so they were on retreat there, and they were talking about how they're like, oh, it's so great that you're pastors and that you have kids. So they're like, we take care of the priests, and they don't know what it's like to have families and responsibilities. She's like, we make their
which
beds.
I'm not sure is actually true of all priests, but a nun said it, so I'm not going to argue it.
But I mean,
they don't know what it's like to have kids, maybe, but they probably know what it was like to be a kid. And anyway.
Yeah, I mean, but I think about that. Like some weeks we have it all together, and some weeks we don't. But that's not. I mean. That's real life. And so I think being real in that, I think, and not putting ourselves like, oh, I wanted to, I had this list and I didn't get the list done. Sometimes that's not what God's calling us to do. Sometimes he's okay with us setting the list and down and doing other things. So the other thing I was going to talk about, and Chris doesn't know I'm going to talk about this because I thought about this in the middle of recording. I know that if you have kids and you like to have Christmas traditions, but Christmas Day or like around, Christmas Eve is hard for you because, Christmas Eve services and all the other things. I'd like to tell you about a tradition that we started in our family years ago. At least 10 years ago, that our kids love. And we're celebrating it tomorrow night. We need to go grocery shopping to get it because we have like literally no food in our house. But one of the things that we love to do is we call it the Christmas tree night. We don't. That's a terrible name because it doesn't.
We got to market this better, definitely.
I feel like we do, but it's our Christmas tree night. So the night we put up our Christmas tree, we make it a big deal. Like, so we put up the tree, we have to listen to music, and we make a big thing of it, and then we have like charcuterie and. If I have time, which I don't this week, I make homemade eggnog, and our kids, they love brie.
I was going to say,
this
we
year,
haven't done everything right as parents, but we have taught our kids to like good cheese and sausage and crackers and jellies.
Yes. And this year we're adding shrimp because...
which I'm not even a big fan of, but the kids love it. So. Sure, why not?
So we enjoy that and watch a Christmas movie or two, depending on what they are. And then we all sleep in the living room with the tree lit all night long, and it's a little bit crazy, but we've had so many great memories over this, and because it's a little separated from Christmas, it's not as stressful for our family to try to keep that tradition. So if you've got young kids and you're like, I'd like to start some traditions in my family, I need some ideas, but Christmas Eve or Christmas Day is a little hard. That's one that we do as a family. Or
if you have great Christmas Eve and Christmas Day ones, but your traditions, but you're just like, I'd like to add another, it's fun. Our kids have loved it over the years. We'll be evangelists, I guess, for sleeping next to your Christmas tree the first night that you put it up. No, it really is. It is one of our, it's one of the fun things. Again, I think as pastors, we do often think for our kids, when it is sometimes a lot of the things that we grew up with is because neither one of us grew up with pastors for parents, that were like those kind of nights that are those times that wrapped our faith growing up in with lots of kind of family traditions, are harder to do, we find, just because we end up being. We do them, but it's more a church family kind of thing as opposed to like a family. And this has been one way that we are able to kind of do some of that family fun kind of stuff. So it is a good, I don't even know where the idea, honestly don't really know where the idea for this came from.
I read this blog post a long time ago, and it was a family that would sleep by their Christmas tree on Christmas Eve. And I was like, that would not work for us. And so it like spurred me on. Yeah. So that's where I got the idea. So I took it from someone else. I didn't
all good ideas.
But like the movie, the charcuterie that we kind of developed over the years.
Yeah. Definitely. So you'll know where we are, what's going on at the Blackie household on this Friday. So we hope as you head towards Christmas that you have some fun stuff that you do, both with your church family and also certainly with your family with your family at home too, and also just really thankful. We have today we interviewed Clint and Steph, who are pastors in a rural church in Pennsylvania. It was a really fun conversation. They're wonderful. They have lots of years of experience of doing pastoring, not exclusively, but in many ways in rural places, and lots of experience with that. They're a wealth of knowledge, and I think our interview today with them is both entertaining and also incredibly just heartwarming and informative too. So it's well worth the listen. So thanks to them for sharing the interview with us, and we hope you find it as full of blessings as we did. Well, welcome back. We have with us today on the Rural Renewal Podcast, Clint and Steph, and we are so excited to have you. You are in rural Pennsylvania. Where exactly in Pennsylvania are you located, or roughly where are you located?
Sure thing. We are in Potter County, and we're in an area that's called the Twin Tiers. So we're right on the New York State-Pennsylvania border.
Oftentimes it's referred to as the Pennsylvania Wilds. Middle of nowhere.
I was going to say that's exactly on a rural podcast about rural ministry. That's the kind of description we're looking for, I think, right there. So that's great. What kinds of it's called I like that, Pennsylvania Wilds. What particularly kind of makes it? Well, obviously it must be rural. What are some of the things that are kind of like the highlights of your county or your area?
We're one of the larger counties geographically, but we have one of the smallest populations, so very sparsely populated. It was the last area in Pennsylvania to be timbered. So this area really wasn't settled heavily until the late 1800s, and the virgin white pine was taken off at that time. We still have a lot of loggers in our area, in our church, and it is a dangerous, but it's a very worthwhile profession.
Our town also hosts the Pennsylvania Fish Commission's hatchery.
Oh, very cool.
Our house. So we enjoy going there too. It's a nice trail to hike on and watch their process of raising the trout.
Yeah,
That's great.
That's really cool.
So how did you end up where you are now?
I grew up here, and Steph grew up right across the New York state line. And when we started slowing down in our ministry, we came back home here. We have a home that one of our sons built when he was younger, and built it for Steph and I. And so we returned here, live in a beautiful location. We see deer and turkey and occasionally bear right out our window.
That's awesome. And so we were talking just a little bit before we actually started the interview here, and you mentioned you had retired, and then you found yourself, you're right back in full-time ministry though, right? I love that, to hear that. So how did that happen when you got to your town?
Yeah, I don't think ministers ever really retire. We knew that we would be ministering. We wasn't exactly sure how. Yep. And a local church needed a pastor. We felt that they would really benefit from a young pastor, but it's hard to call young pastors in rural areas. And they asked us if we would come, and we've been there 4 years now. Love the people and have just really enjoyed the ministry there.
We really have. We're thankful that the Lord gave us this opportunity. It's probably going to be our last church, full time.
Yeah.
And I'm just so thankful that He gave us the gift of this church.
Well, that's really neat to hear. One of the reasons that we wanted to interview was we hear that you do a really big hunters dinner, and so we wanted to kind of get the details on that, kind of hear how you use it for ministry and how it very obviously fits well within the context of what people are interested in, not just church people, but everybody's interested, I'm sure, in your community. So.
Okay, sure. We'll share that, and interrupt me at any time.
Yeah, certainly.
Right. The idea for this particular ministry didn't come with us. We learned of it from a fellow by the name of Charlie Alsheimer, and we hosted our first wildlife banquet back in 1978. Charlie was a Vietnam vet. He was a few years older than me. Had come to Christ through the ministry of Dick Snavely, and was a phenomenal photographer. He stepped away from a six-figure income, which was a lot of money back in the 1970s, and started working as a full-time outdoor photographer. Initially not well known, and by the time that he was done, probably one of the best known outdoor photographers in the country. I had gone to game dinners with my grandfather when I was a kid, but all that they consisted of was just wild game. And oftentimes the pastor, one of the laymen, would just offer a prayer of thanksgiving before the meal, and that was it. And Charlie hit upon this idea of holding them whenever possible in a neutral site, like a fire hall or a community hall, a gymnasium, and inviting people that wouldn't typically come to church, and having them come out of a common love for the outdoors. And so that's how it came about. The first one we hosted was in the church fellowship hall. It was a small hall. It was our first pastorate. And I remember you fixed the entire meal.
Yes, with the help of my mother. Mom, can you help? It's always very good to do that. Yeah, we I remember the menus from all of them. It's kind of funny, but when you cook it, I suppose you do, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
We had some 65, maybe 70 guys squeezed into that small hall.
Mm.
I had a wonderful meal. Charlie shared his presentation. Back then, it wasn't digital; it was the old-fashioned carousels.
Yep.
But it was really professional, really well done. And at the end, Charlie shared his testimony about coming to Christ, and then gave an invitation. And several of the men there that were not churchgoers prayed to receive Christ.
Mm.
So we continue to do these. We've done these now for years and years, over 40 years. Sometimes we would even do multiple ones in the course of a year. And as time went by, other individuals became interested in this type of ministry. And so there's a wide array of individuals you can have in. You can have people in for fly fishing and hunting and the shooting sports, hiking, photography. And we've tried to do a little bit of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Charlie was always really, really good to us. And even though he could have commanded a high fee, he did not.
He didn't.
Mm.
No.
Mm.
Very gracious man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah, I think that's. I love the story. The way that we sometimes think of, as the church in the last 20 years has really tried to think about what does it mean to try to attract people who are not church people to Christ, and to find ways to connect with them, and it's good to hear that while this is something I think the church has been really trying hard to do in the last, it's not like this is something new that the church is trying to do. That this has always been something that we have recognized as a body of Christ, and from the first disciples that a lot of what needs to happen happens outside of what we normally think of as church, and that is a lot of the ways that ministry gets started. So I love this. This is definitely a great example of how to just have people with the right gifts and the right kind of skills to be able to put something like this together, really make an impact in lives. So that's really cool.
So I'm curious to hear, like, how does the food portion, like, how do you serve the food? What do you serve? Like, tell me all the things. I love food, so that's where I'm curious.
Okay. Probably you folks are familiar with Promise Keepers.
Yep.
When we started going to the stadium events with them, it really shaped how we did our men's dinners. And we realized that guys like to be fed well, and they like to be fed quickly. And so we've had up to 379 fellows in a wildlife banquet.
Well, and women too.
And women too, yeah. Yeah, and that has evolved.
It has. It used to be men,
Okay.
but women, I mean, we went out hunting the other day, both of us. And
Sure.
so, women enjoy that as well. So.
Absolutely. It's good point. But yeah, we will have as many as 14 serving lines. And our goal is to have everybody through the serving line in under 15 minutes.
Mm.
And we can usually do it in about 10 minutes. And so then they have time to enjoy the meal.
Yes.
Our church family does an amazing job of preparing the food. They donate the venison and other wild game. We also have non-game food like ham and different things like that, pulled pork. But it's a great meal. If that's all that you came for, you would enjoy that.
Of course, largely the women do the preparing of the food.
Yeah.
And what we have found really helps us to set the menu and then purchase what needs to be prepared, like the potatoes. We need so many folks to prepare 10 pounds of potatoes for mashed potatoes. And so you have those, lined up in the front of the church, right? And just simple things like that. And I have the recipe for Mississippi mud, and
Yep.
and they have the ingredients to do that. It's important because sometimes it's a little hard for some families that don't have that kind of an income to purchase those ingredients, so it's important to make sure that everyone can be involved that way. And, but just to prepare things a little bit like that, so that they know what's coming up and what's going to be required and so on. Does that help you, Catherine?
Yeah. I just, I think everybody does it a little bit differently. So I love to hear how people serve food and what they make and that kind of thing. So, I think that's wonderful. And I like the idea that you try to feed them quickly. I think that makes a lot of sense. And that you've figured it out like 10 minutes. We can do it in about 10 minutes. That's pretty remarkable and how many people typically come to your dinners?
Where we are currently, we're maxed out at 200.
Okay.
And we hold the line there at 200. The tickets are popular. They're well received. We give away a lot of prizes donated by our church family.
Donated.
Yep.
We have a world famous cutlery in the area, and they are so good to donate clasp knives and things like that. We give away a gun every year.
Yep.
And because of federal firearms laws and so forth, we usually give away a muzzle loader. They're not regulated. And so even if a young child is drawn, they win the prize and they can take it home with them. You don't have to do any FFL background check or anything like that.
Yep.
And so that makes it pretty simple. But our people donate, well over $1,000 worth of prizes for every year. And it's things like coolers and Coleman stoves and Coleman lanterns and tents and sleeping bags and fishing gear, good quality stuff. Yeah, it really is. So a lot of fun. If you'd like more detail, we actually put together a PowerPoint, and we'd be glad to share any pastor that would like it as to how to set it up, how to fund it. We have been able to keep the tickets at $8 per person now for well over a decade.
Wow.
We're in a rural area. Income's not high. And so for a family to come, that adds up pretty quickly. If you've a family of 5, that's $40 that some families are pretty tight on. And we always have people in the church that let it be known that if people need a ticket, we will provide it. And so there's folks that are very, very good to fully fund it. But, I don't mean to sound crass, but I do like them to get a ticket because they have a little skin in the game then. They show up. The ticket allows them to enter into the prize drawing and allows us to have a little bit of a record as to who was there and even any decisions that they've made. So we do use that. And again, I would be glad to share the template for that if any pastor would like a copy of it.
Yeah, and we'll make sure in the show notes to put your contact information for you so that if anybody wants to get a hold of you, for Steph as well, yes. So if anybody wants to get a hold, if maybe you're like me, Clinton, if you really want to get a hold of you, you should get a hold of Kathleen.
I don't know if this would help anyone listening regarding how they order their program. In one of our churches, we had a beautiful gymnasium, and it was connected, of course, to the sanctuary. And our boys are very musical. I don't know if you use your kids in your ministry, but we always try to. They were very gracious about doing it. But they're very musical. And so as soon as they were done with their dinner, they would go to the sanctuary and they would get the banjo, the mandolin, and the guitars. And some of the other guys in our church they formed a little bluegrass band and would perform while people were coming in, filing in from the dinner, so that it wasn't like a dead air and just something to, make the atmosphere a little more warm and inviting. I don't know. Maybe that's helpful or not, but...
No, I think, and I do think in a lot of rural communities, I'm always shocked in where we are of how easy it is to find people who are interested in doing something musical. We have a ton of people. A lot of the restaurants in our area do like open mic nights and stuff and you'd think there's nobody lives here. Well, not nobody, but not that many people live here. And there's a lot of, and the music quality is of all sorts of varying degrees at that, but music is a big part. I think it has always been a big part of rural communities. People have, it's a way that people, and I think an acceptance of music as the music people can make. And maybe it's great when it's very professional, but it's also great when it's folksy and yeah. So that's great. That's really great. And definitely our kids do get you. Oh, sorry, Kathleen.
I was going to say that we had a conversation before this as well about hospitality and the importance of hospitality it's always important in churches, but there's something special about it in the rural church. So what are your thoughts about that?
Do you want to speak to that one?
I can, because a lot of times we think hospitality, you have to prepare a full course dinner for someone. You don't need that. Your house has to be clean. So you have to swallow some pride to allow people to come as it is, right? We didn't have the house completely finished for when we moved in. Our son did a great job, but there were just some fine things that needed to be done. But we had people in anyway. And yesterday, I had a woman come and my house was totally trashed. I've been working on some other things, and I said, "This is just the way it is." And she said, "That's fine." And I said, "Can I get you anything? Just a glass of water." So, cups of cold water given in Jesus' name, right? And but you have to be willing just to be simple. Have popcorn. You can have the dinner if you want, but it's just having a warm heart and a warm, welcoming home that people enjoy. And I think the same atmosphere needs to be transferred to the church. We need to make sure that they feel welcomed and that they that they are wanted. And I think food is a great way to get people to feel that way. Christ fed the thousands, right? And it's an evangelism tool. And I think it's great to feed folks. So, but you don't have to. But it's a great tool.
We've seen a decline in hospitality, and there's a lot of social factors. Yeah. Most women work outside the home, and that makes it a challenge to have people in. And so I think when we can do that, those of us that are in a position that we're able to, I think it's deeply appreciated. We've really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
I was remembering a story. So when you were talking about having people over, so we have a newer family in our church, and we invited them over for dinner. It was like a year ago. And one of our favorite, if we have especially they had 5 people in their family, so there's 10 of us all together. And so we have this recipe for baked ziti, and it feeds more than 10 people. So you always have leftovers, which is always lovely. And I usually make bread, but it's pretty simple. It's all in one pot and everything. So we made it, they loved it. And then a few months ago, we had bought enough just regular baked ziti, not the special recipe that I usually make. We had enough to feed 2 families because we were going to bring it to someone's house. It was a long story, but we canceled it. And so we had all this baked ziti. So we're like, oh, we should invite someone over. And not even thinking, we're like, oh, we'll invite this family back over for dinner. And they came over and we're like, sorry, we're having baked ziti again. We promise we don't eat it that often.
It's not the only food we eat. They were fine. It was still a lovely night.
Exactly, right?
You make it a raise at the next annual meeting. Exactly. Folks, all they eat is.
I love that. One of the things we certainly as a church, certainly personally, but also as a church, we do find food is just. It is, if Jesus wasn't feeding people, he was eating with people. So it was, it is, and it's something we obviously all have to do, but it does have this way of really breaking down some of those social barriers and just making people comfortable together. And I think the hospitality piece in a time when more and more people, even in rural places, are. It can be pretty easy to be disconnected from your neighbor. The technology has made it just increasingly easy to kind of be in your own house all the time, or
Sure.
and in your own space. And it is part of what the church offers that's different than what the world offers is a space where you actually spend time with one another, and really have real relationship in that way. And I think food is a great way to kind of help that to happen. And so feed people, always a good idea, is to feed people. So that's I agree. Another thing that we've heard that you do each year is you have you kind of do a big VBS each year, and I'd love to hear a little bit about how you work that in your context and some of the ways that some of the advice you might have for that.
And Chris, before we move on, not everybody might know what VBS is.
Oh, that's true. Yes, I know. For us from the North, but Vacation Bible School, which I grew up, Kathleen, you grew up, actually, our churches did it. We grew up at two different churches, but we shared a VBS. But is, a summer, usually it's traditionally at least a week-long summer program where kids come, they have a chance to play games, learn about the Bible, learn about Jesus, and do some arts and crafts, and yeah.
Okay. And also, Kathleen makes a great point in that there's a generation today that doesn't always know what VBS is. We were at Staples a year ago, actually getting printing done for Vacation Bible School, and there was two young college-age girls that said to us, "What is VBS?" Just a great opportunity to explain to them what it was, and they said that sounds kind of neat, Not surprisingly, we oftentimes shape it around a rural experience, an outdoor experience. This year, one of our guest speakers was a newly minted game warden.
Oh, nice.
Pennsylvania game wardens are highly regarded. It's a difficult job to land. They've had a lot of preparation for it. And this young man was incredibly well-spoken. I don't know where he stands spiritually, but he came in and in the middle of the week, did a fantastic job talking about creation and sharing with the kids. He had a difficult time getting out of there because they all had a story they wanted to tell. Country people.
We were a little concerned what some of them might be.
I said, I'm going to go arrest any uncle.
Yeah, I was going to say this.
I'm not paying attention because there was a few illegal acts represented there that they want
not hard to believe.
Got to talk and where their grandpa did things. And, a lot of details.
Yeah.
They loved him, and he did an amazing job.
He was so patient.
Yeah.
Very patient with the kids.
He told us he'll come back again with a bear. They have to trap bears in our area pretty often and relocate them. And we just didn't have quite enough time that night for him to bring one of the bears. But in fact, he was headed out to beekeepers to trap a bear that night. But so we do that with Vacation Bible School. The other thing we've done sometimes in lieu of VBS is what's called an outdoor skills camp. If you're in a suburban area, and we've pastored in suburban areas, you might have a soccer camp. But here we have an outdoor skills camp. And, you mentioned a moment ago that life is very different than it was a few decades ago. A lot of kids, even though they grow up in the country, don't know where acorns come from. Their answer is acorn trees. Okay. And so we do an outdoor skills camp. We have a lot of veterans in our church and guys and gals that are experiencing the outdoors. And so we teach orienteering with a compass. We have some marksmanship and different things like that. And so those are really well received too. You can't have as big of a group because most of the kids need some individual attention.
Yep.
But it is a rich time. And we found that with that particular camp, the moms and the dads tend to stay through it with them.
Yeah, that was good.
One thing we're kind of toying with is the idea of doing a bow camp, and it stands for Becoming an Outdoor Woman. And it's something that the Game Commission offers, and we've thought about offering it as a church. We have a lot of ladies that enjoy the outdoors, and so that's another thing that we might do in the future.
Yeah, I really appreciate the willingness to say, you've obviously you know where you are, the people who are there, and really kind of saying, what do the people love around here, and how can we connect that with our church and with Christ in the midst of that. And that part of, that's at the heart of whatever kind of ministry, wherever we find ourselves, right? I mean, for us, a lot of stuff we try to do a bunch of stuff around skiing and things like that, obviously, because it's a huge part of what a lot of people who live, even if they don't work in the ski industry, a lot of people do, but if they don't, one of the reasons you would live in a place like we are is because you love to ski and things like that. And it becomes a way that you can really be, connecting with the people in your area. And certainly, obviously you all have found that. I like the, just kind of fun. And I think fun to hear like you have taking of some like traditional things and ideas that have been done for a long time. The church has been doing, VBS programs, for 75 years probably, or maybe even longer. But finding new ways to, we're going to orient it around outdoor skills, or we're going to have the game warden. That's such a great idea. I mean, I can't imagine if you have a bear, we're going to have to just find like pictures or video of this with the kids. That is amazing.
The kids really behave well when you have a big bear.
That's true. Actually, and because I have found we actually know a game warden from pretty well who lives in the town near us, and every time I have a conversation with her about anything, it is just lovely. I'm like one of the kids. I could talk to her for hours about what is I had a conversation with her about Fisher cats one time because I wasn't sure if I had seen one, and it was just so lovely because she just had all this. She's like, oh yeah, no, this is how you know it was a Fisher cat versus a weasel or something else. It was so good, so good. So
we actually traded. Potter County did. We traded turkeys for your fishers.
Oh, okay.
So we have fishers.
Not a good trade.
No.
Trade for
Trade
you.
for Vermont.
Yeah. But we actually have fishers here now, reintroduced, and we see them fairly often.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. That's lovely. It has been really great to get a chance to talk and hear. Anything else you want to share about? I mean, obviously you have thought about what it means to pastor in a rural area, to be part of a church in a rural area. Anything else you want to share as we kind of get close to wrapping things up?
Real quick, rural areas have changed significantly. Steph and I voted last month and had a nice visit with the ladies that were the tellers there at the voting booth, and we got talking about how much our area has changed. When we were young, you went to the grocery store, you went to the general store, and that's where your mail was. They actually had the post office there in the general store. And so you saw one another sometimes daily, and that's gone. It's gone. And so we talked a little bit there, at the polling place. We talked about, what can we do to reintroduce some of that? And for the first time since we've been here, we're actually going to have a caroling party later this month. And the ladies that were there said that they would endorse it enthusiastically.
Some want to join.
Yeah. So,
And then we're going to come to our home afterwards for,
Oh, lovely.
food.
Yeah.
good people, but we just don't see them very
Yeah,
often.
and a lot of people are lonely. One place we see folks, though, is the county fair every summer. Our church has had a booth at the fair. Just is a presence to know that we are around, and we've had some different activities for the people to do when they go by. But and that's been a lot of fun, also.
Yeah. The first year we did. You remember what we did the first year?
Don't ask me that.
Okay, I just do it blank too.
We did the milkweed pods.
Milkweed pods.
Oh, nice.
And older people knew instantly what they were. During World War II, they were collected to make flotation devices for people in the Navy and in the Air Force. And so they knew what they were. And then we had a neat craft we made out of them. Our people spent a lot of time prior to the fair making these giveaways out of the hulls for the milkweed pods. And so that was neat. The next year we had a shooting booth, and we told the story of Alvin York. He was a World War I hero, a fantastic marksman, a very rural guy from Tennessee, and a devout Christian. Started a Christian school there in Tennessee. And then last year we did an engineer friend developed this for us. I remember the old game Operation.
Yep.
It was life size.
This
Very cool.
bigger than life size. It was 4 feet by 8 feet.
Yeah.
And,
Very cool.
And we will loan that to any church that's willing to come and pick it up. And it's really, really heavy, but
It's
lights up, mild
incredible.
shock.
Yep. That's fun.
So those are things we've done at the fair, and we don't see a lot of evangelism there, but we have people stop that want to talk.
Yeah.
We have a lot of Christians that stop by and just need somebody to pray with them, spend some time with them. We work closely with the Gideons, and they send folks over to us, and we, of course, send folks to them as well. But now, a lot of fun. We are getting up in years, but the ministry is more fun than ever, and we really enjoy it.
Yeah, I like it. And you can tell that the sense of joy you get out of the ministry. And I'm sure that gets translated to your church family as well. That when you really find enjoyment in the stuff that you're doing together, that it is. It's that joy of the Lord at the same time, right? It is fun, and it's fun for Jesus, and that is so. I think all this, whenever we've done stuff successfully that I felt has been successful as a church, it has often been something that has been, a lot of people found a lot of joy in, and there is so much of the important stuff of ministry and the growth that you see in people. I mean, it's obviously lovely to have Bible study together, just pray together, to worship together. But a lot of the stuff that kind of helps us really become real brothers and sisters in Christ is, if sitting around a campfire together in somebody's field, or, and just spending those evenings. And a lot of what you're talking about you're just laughing and telling stories. And Jesus sometimes is explicitly there. Sometimes he's just sitting around the campfire with you, but I think a lot of really important ministry and a lot of what makes a church kind of vibrant and help it grow to those outside of it is some of that kind of stuff, and I hear a lot of that in what you're talking about. So that's really cool.
Right.
That's really cool.
Hey, what a delight to meet you folks.
It's been wonderful.
Yeah, it really has been. What a joy.
Yeah.
Thanks again. If you're down our way, stop by. We'll have some popcorn.
Sounds
great.
good. And if you're up our way, bake ziti if you're coming our way. So.
we knew what the menu was. Okay. Good deal. Thanks again.
Yeah.
Thank you
so much.
Rural Renewal Podcast is brought to you by Fresh Expressions and the Ascent Movement. Fresh Expressions is a worldwide movement of everyday missionaries who want to see churches thrive in places we eat, live, work, and play by leveraging the creativity and endurance of the inherited church. The mission of the Ascent Movement is to create a thriving, collaborative connection for the church to live out the Great Commission in today's context. One of the initiatives of the movement is the Mustard Seed Initiative. Inspired by the message in the parable of the mustard seed, the Mustard Seed Initiative seeks to empower small churches across North America, enabling them to grow in faith and impact within their communities.
To connect with this podcast, you can email us at podcasts@freshexpressions.com. Rural Renewal Podcast is hosted by Kathleen Blackie and Chris Blackie. It's edited by Joel Limbowen and produced by Kathleen Blackie and Jeanette Statz. Our senior director is Shannon Kaiser. A special thank you to Brad and Joni Perry of Alabaster Grace for the use of their music for our podcast.
If you have learned something or been encouraged by this podcast, please help us spread the word. You can give us a review on Apple Music or Spotify and share this episode on social media.
May God be merciful and bless us. May his face smile with favor on us. May your ways be known throughout the earth, your saving power among people everywhere. May the nations praise you, O God. Yes, may all the nations praise you. Let the whole world sing for joy because you govern the nations with justice and guide the people of the whole world. May the nations praise you, O God. Yes, may all the nations praise you. Then the earth will yield its harvest, and God, our God, will richly bless us. Yes, God will bless us, and people all over the world will fear him. Psalm 67.